Hi everyone, I'm Delilah, aka ASSASSINA-san. Today I'm doing a nice little review on a little cutesy game that was included with the PS5 called Astro's Playroom. Now this is a tech demo technically for the Dualsense controller, so I'll also be checking in about the Dualsense when I review Astro's Playroom. I honestly usually don't play these like pack-in games because usually they are just tech demos and they don't feel like games. But this one did. Astro's Playroom gave me the same amount of magic that Mario 64 gave me when I was a little girl, that Super Mario Galaxy gave me when the Wii came out, and that like maybe Ratchet & Clank gave me in 2016. That's a magic that I was hoping to see from a game like Mario Odyssey, and I know that's a really solid 3D platforming game, but for me it didn't have the magic that the other Super Mario 3D games did, like Galaxy and 64. I'm not saying that Astro's Playroom is better than that game by any means, but I feel like it did something so different for that genre. I felt more of a spark playing this than I did like Mario Odyssey, for example. Not only is Astro's Playroom a really cool tech demo, but it is a solid 3D platformer. It's very short. You can finish anywhere between 2 to 4 hours. You can platinum it within that time, within 4 hours as well. So it's a really short bite-sized experience, but it feels substantial enough for me to review it. So Astro's Playroom is just, it's a game for Sony fans. It's a collectathon where you're collecting puzzle pieces. You'll have Astrobots around all these PlayStation accessories and memorandum and stuff like that. And then you're collecting like every PlayStation console, every PlayStation accessory. You'll have something as old as like the PlayStation memory card or the original PlayStation, something as modern as the PS5 and the Dualsense. And you'll even have obscure ass shit like the PlayStation Move Sharpshooter or the PSP Go or something like that. Everything about this game is littered, literally littered with PlayStation. Like when there's rain, the water drops. Drop out the sacred symbols. You'll see a little triangle in the puddle, or a little circle, or square, or X, or whatever, or cross, whatever. I don't know if you guys know, maybe you haven't noticed yet, but I think there's been several articles and videos about it. The Dualsense actually has sacred symbols in it, and so does the PlayStation 5, like inside of it, on the plates and on the Dualsense, and they had it on the walls of the main hub of the game, which is called CPU Valley or something like that, and the PlayStation Labo, which is where all of your collectibles go when you're done. It becomes like a haven of PlayStation. So you'll basically be going through different levels that are adjacent to the main hub, the CPU. I don't know why I'm calling it Valley. It's probably something else. And then there's like 4 different worlds with 16 different levels. There's no like progression. You just go to whichever one you want, and you can go back to each section of the level on a whim. Let's say you forgot a collectible. Instead of going through the whole level, you can go to that specific section of the level and then collect whatever you missed. So that was really cool. And then with the PlayStation 5, there's the new activity log that you can see like what things are to do, and it'll bring you straight there. There's a lot of cool features that Astro's Playroom and the PlayStation 5 go hand in hand with. The details that they included of PlayStation fandom, of the PlayStation accessories, are so good. Like, they look like the controllers, like the ridges, the ports, the buttons, they all look authentic. Like, you can walk up to it in the PlayStation Labo, stare inside the port, and see the same exact port that you would see on your console in person. It's insane. It's so detailed. There's PlayStation Easter eggs everywhere. I mean, the game's a giant PlayStation Easter egg. You'll see little Astrobots around the world dressed as Kratos, or Aloy, Nathan Drake, or the Bloodborne Hunter, or even like third-party characters like Alucard from Castlevania or something like that. There's so many Astrobots dressed as different things. You'll see freaking Sam Porter Bridges with a bunch of like little, boxes on top of him. It's so cute, and the Astrobots are just adorable, and they dance all funny and sometimes a little fresh. Like, I've seen some of them thrusting and twerking a little bit if you look. But it's just super cute. The 3D platforming is solid. Like, I find myself enjoying looking at every nook and cranny of each level, and what helped, besides it being colorful and beautiful and feeling like very next gen with so many details, with awesome lighting, is that the DualSense really immerses you into the experience with the haptic feedback, the motion controls. I know you've heard this like mumbo jumbo before when it comes to the PlayStation 5 DualSense, but it is all the hype. I thought it was a gimmick, honestly. I was like, whatever, I don't care for that. The Nintendo Switch does that in some way. I don't really think that's gonna affect my experience. Like, cool, no doubt, like, include it, but I usually turn that stuff off, one, to save my battery, which I will say my battery drained very fast while playing Astro's Playroom, but also because I just genuinely, like, find that stuff to be gimmicky. But then when I played it in Astro's Playroom, I was like, holy shit, this feels really freaking good. Here's where it blew my mind. I was on Bot Beach. While I was walking on the sand, it felt rough and crunchy. And then while I was swimming in the water, it felt smooth and soft. But then, when I was standing on the shore, where I had water and sand beneath me, I felt both sensations at the same time. And I know on paper or like hearing it, it doesn't sound that serious, but when you feel it in your hands, it really feels good. It feels insane, and it really immerses you into the game more than you would be if it wasn't for the haptic feedback and the motion controls and the adaptive triggers. Related to the adaptive triggers, there was another time where your Astrobot turns into like a monkey robot, and then you're climbing on these rocks, and then when you latch onto the rocks, you're like holding down the trigger, but then there's some rocks that are a little broken, so you have to be a little more gentle. So instead of like holding down the trigger, you'll like lightly press it in, and you'll feel it stop itself. There's like a point where it's like, okay, I recognize that you're not pushing all the way, so I'm gonna stop here. And it's not hard to do. It's very easy, and it feels very natural. And then you can like climb that rock without breaking it, but if you push it in too much, you'll break it. It's not a pain in the ass. You just gotta know that that's what you have to do, and then it happens. The controller's designed that way. I thought things like that were really impressive. When it's raining, you can feel it. When you're wielding like a bow, you can feel the resistance when you're pressing in the trigger to aim, and then you release it and the resistance goes away. Or when you're wielding like a little machine gun that threw out little marbles or something, you were able to feel like a thumping, like dun 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 feeling in the controller. Some of it had to do with the speaker coming out of the controller. Like when I was under a fan, I would feel the vroom, but then I would hear it from the controller as well, so that contributed to it. But for the most part, the levels and the terrain was adaptive to the feedback of the controller. It really genuinely immersed me into the experience more than I would have if I didn't have those features available. It makes me curious to see how it's going to be used in future games, like more AAA titles, more not tech demos, like let's say when we play Horizon Zero Dawn using her bow, is it gonna feel that resistance as well? Or when we're like using our Leviathan axe as Kratos in the new God of War 2, am I gonna feel the Leviathan axe like coming back to my controller, you know, as I'm recalling it or something like that? I'm just curious to see what games, if not just first-party developers, maybe even third-party developers, are going to be implementing the features of the DualSense. It's not that a game becomes better with the DualSense, it just supplements the experience and makes it more immersive than it already is. And that was especially true with Astro's Playroom, because Astro's Playroom was specifically designed to show the features of the controller. So because of that, it made the experience more dazzling for me, and it made it kind of like a new refreshing 3D platforming experience that I hadn't gotten since like Ratchet & Clank 2016. It's nice to see this genre of games being given love by PlayStation, and it's nice to see that they have the potential to make these experiences that feel refreshing when we already have so many solid 3D platformers out there in the world already. Just like I mentioned, Mario is the biggest example. Playing this game, I think, is a really good experience. I highly recommend, if you got your hands on a PS5, you definitely give it a try. I feel like you're gonna like it. I mean, especially if you like 3D platformers, I think this will be a nice, refreshing 3D platforming experience for you. It's just adorable, it's fun, it's colorful, and the DualSense controls just make you more immersed into that world and to the different puzzles that you need to solve. And there's all different kinds of like transformations that the Astrobot has that makes each level feel unique. Just the way they looked, and I love Sony, so seeing all the Sony memorandum and collecting all of it and seeing it all together in my PlayStation Labo, it just felt like a good bite-sized rewarding experience, not just as a showcase for the DualSense, but also as a 3D platformer. It's getting me hyped to play Sackboy Adventure. It's getting me hyped to play Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. I feel like those games, because they're first-party titles, are going to utilize the DualSense haptic feedback motion controls and adaptive triggers effectively, more so than like third-party games that like have a choice because they're not just designing it for the PlayStation. I'm looking forward to just seeing how PlayStation shows love to 3D platformers and how they implement the DualSense controls into their games. So that's it. If you guys played Astro's Playroom already, let me know what you think of it in the comments. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? And I will say before I go, since we're talking about the DualSense so much, I do feel like the controller is not as comfortable as the Xbox controller. I feel like the size of it is fine. It's just heavier. And I think that might be because of the technology in it. The first night that I played it, mind you, I played from the minute I got it until the minute I went to sleep, which was at like 3 a.m. that day when I first got my PS5. I had trouble holding it after a while. It was like, it wasn't like, oh my god, it's gonna fall. Like, no. Like, I just felt like this pressure in my hand, and I actually felt like my muscle straining a little bit. Now, I did have a couple of all-nighters after that, and I haven't felt it, so I'm guessing it just exercised a specific muscle in my hand, and that's why I don't feel it anymore. But at the time, I was like, huh, this is really heavy. And my partner, Matt, he told me he experienced the same thing, so I'm curious to see if other people had that experience, or if it was just because I played for so long, and that's why I noticed it the first day. It still is comfortable. I think the DualShock 4s are a little more comfortable for me, and once again, that's because of the weight, but I do like the shape of it, and I feel like if they made the shape of it moving forward with a little less heft in it, where it's less heavy, but still had the weight to it that feels good in the way that like the Xbox controller does, then it might be a really solid controller. Yeah, that's a review of Astro's Playroom. I have a written review on God Hates Geeks. You can check that out. It's on my Facebook gaming page, or you can go directly to the website. You know, look forward to screenshots I have of it, and let me know what you think. I'm really curious what how your guys' experiences are, not just with Astro's Playroom and the DualSense, but the PS5 period. I've been playing a bunch of games, and so I look forward to discussing them because I think they're all very good. So thank you so much for watching this. I hope you liked it. Let me know your thoughts. Take care.